But there are some things in our society and some things in our world for which I'm proud to be maladjusted. And I call upon all men of goodwill to be maladjusted to these things until the good society is realized. I must honestly say to you that I never intend to adjust myself
Oh,
to
we're live
racial
now.
segregation
That's
and
like the music's going to
discrimination.
be playing, so it's like
I never
what I'm saying right
intend
now
to
will be
adjust
like put to like all
myself
the audience members
to
as
religious
were until
bigotry.
John Brooklyn says
I
you
never
are live.
intend to adjust myself to economic conditions
I know
that
what
will
his
take
tricks
necessities
are.
from
Yes,
the many
Laura
to give
Cat,
luxuries
you
to
will
the
fool
few and leave millions
I
of
see
God's
us,
children
so-
smothering in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society.
One thing I'm technically a Lutheran, David. I see what you said there, David. Hello there. Can't hear me.
My name is Asada Shakur, and I was born and raised in the United States. I am a descendant of Africans who were kidnapped and brought to the Americas as slaves.
Not yet, no.
There's no way to know what life what is life.
Your gay brothers and your gay sisters in jail. They're writing me every motherfucking week. And ask for your help. And you all don't do a goddamn thing for them.
I'm used to I always
The end point of capitalism.
prepared like
Bottom line,
half an hour
where human
before
life
everything.
has no value at all.
Signed up for it.
We're fighting an algorithm,
Yeah, exactly. I should.
a
but I don't.
spreadsheet, like every worker everywhere. We're fighting the suits.
I am semi-comatose.
Wait, I should
I think
I
that
just
means he's
moved-
drunk. He's English, so he's been drinking Boddingtons. Hey, everybody. Decided to play the intro today.
Oh, the intro with like
The voices.
MLK Jr.
Yes.
Ashara-
That's why David Skagos said he's a Lutheran.
Okay.
Hey, Asma.
and I've now moved I've swapped zoom to the front camera area, which is where it should be really when I'm talking with people. I'm used to doing two things at once, so I'm like used to having things the
game.
opposite direction with two monitors.
Mm-hmm. So, hello lads, lasses, and NB badasses. Here on the Alchemy bench is, of course, me, the Blue Bomber, or AIA, Submarine Geek. Over there is a cat, John Brockman, is the asshole of the cat. I say that Taylor, returning like a irregular, yes, joined us as well. And of course, we're also joined by a special guest and a friend of the show, Ozma Dark. Say hello, Ozma.
Hi, I'm glad you've allowed me to say hello. I've been trapped in your basement for the past couple weeks, and
Well, if you would just put the lotion on the skin.
No,
I have lotion too.
You just agreed to be a good MB, and then so you were allowed to be here. So yes, yes. You agreed that we are the masters as it were, and so like yes, we allow you to like free yourself from like the money spent from like now for like at least the next 90 minutes or so, or however long we feel like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So how's everyone doing?
Well, I've had a month dealing with a landlord that didn't want to do their job.
I'm good. I'm actually good.
Yeah,
Whatever
you're
hurt.
leaving McDonald's and moving to a different place, right?
I'm sorry?
You're leaving McDonald's, moving to another job?
Yeah, I already did actually. It's 15 an hour and benefits, so it's Monday through Friday, so I get to make more cosplays now.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Yeah. My life's complicated, which is the general situations usually in. No, it's relationship issues and figuring out how best to supplement Snap with food shelves. or whatever. I didn't figure out the food shelf thing. I probably should have earlier. I was too complacent with the extra money I was getting during the times when COVID was officially a pandemic. Now it's almost a pandemic, so we've decided to.
It's still a
relax
pandemic. We just don't
everything.
care anymore.
Pretty much.
We have the vaccines, so white people are okay. Rich white people. Rich white men.
Yeah.
And that is true. Like I'm so careful. Christian Cinema will come after your $15 and do a little dance as she gets a thumbs down to it as well too. And hello, like Indigenous Heretic, Joe Buckley. You need to use the lotion to be a good MB.
Yeah, I survived.
Look,
Autistic, so.
Look, I've heard lotion is actually good for skincare. I should probably use lotion more. Like, legit.
I do.
I should too,
I
as
usually
well.
use lotion a lot because sometimes I work with like chemicals and water that can really dry your hands out. So I enjoy that.
I should just like take care of myself like a period. My generals, when people ask like how are you doing, my general answer is just like some stages are tired of some point or another. Right now it's mild because like it's been hours since I woke up, as it were, and I have caffeine conveniently in my waifu cup as well.
You have a wife?
Yes, a waifu cup. Gamer Slurps like sells them. However,
How do you say you have a wife?
No,
That's what waifu means, but
yes.
Yeah, but like there's the subculture of even if the relationship stuff doesn't happen, clearly these characters are written to be like some sort of relationship related fantasy.
yeah, it's all got the racist Orientalist bullshit about the submissive woman.
Yeah. I never got into that whole waifu thing. I mean, it's bad enough that I can't that I guess I've stalked women in the past, but the last thing I need then is a waifu because it just I don't know, it just puts a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, I think to some degree, depending on who you talk with, it's been broadened to any relationship fantasy, not just the thing. I think I believe jokingly some friends I've had on Discord called Genshin Impact Breath of the Waifus.
Yes.
Partially for the pun and partially for like half those characters are just like badass people. It's just language changes over time. That was definitely early on. It was definitely used more that way, and I'm sure some people still do or whatnot. And to be fair, it's also like half ironic. Like
For some people, I guess.
Yeah,
for some people it's half ironic. Yes.
Yeah, if people are saying it unironically, they're more likely to say it like what you're talking about.
I do like how he says something about ironic because that's a great song by Alanis Morissette. So
Of course, you bring up the white Canadian girls.
Yes, you bring up the white Canadian girls, as it were. If it's not like Avril Lavigne, it's Alanis Morissette.
Your waifus.
or Alicia Silverstone, from like on the Coolest Bursers, where she would be a waifu of yours as well.
Is she Canadian?
no, she's from San Francisco.
I love that you just had that off the top of your head.
You know exactly where she lives. No, I'm kidding, of course.
Oh God, no.
Born in San Francisco. I don't.
Okay, yes.
I don't. No, I'm not like that. Oh God, no.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see. Joe McClory asked a really good question. Your waifu cup, is it made of marriage material?
Well, okay, so this one, it's actually a sticker. This one is Gamer Girl, and yet there's so many people that sees themselves as this, as it were, like the streamer Zero XZ, something like that. She sees this is her, and something like that. Any like a Gamer Girl on Twitch or something like that will see this and think that's me right there too. But the official art on the cup is this one. It's like it's kind of like the lines that's supposed to be her sweater, as it were, but the lines have faded out, as it were. It's supposed to be pinstripes, as it were, too. But this is like something actually like creator that like has their own cup, and this is supposed to be Stacy's mom. You know, Stacy's mom's got it going on, as it were. And of course, she's clothed, as it were, with a sweater and jeans and stuff like that. But it seems like it vacuum sealed onto her skin, as it were, with how it like conformed to her all of her curves, as it were, too. So it's like, I guess with like Stacy's mom, yes, this waifu cup is marriage material.
Well, you don't know that. Stacy's mom could be a single mother.
Yes, exactly.
No.
Yes, exactly. MILF. Man, I love Fourth Knife.
Okay.
That was on a t-shirt, as it were.
Stacy's mom is doing something wrong. She's coming out of the shower with no... I can't remember the song. Somebody made a parody talking about how inappropriate Stacy's mom is behaving.
Oh, David Scott already did a pun, and like Phoenix is like taking like David's ears all the way to baby jail or baby gay jail and something like. Well, there you go. As we're hello Phoenix, hello Contacts French, hello the City of Free Councils, hello. They don't forget to like say hi to anyone else. I just said hello to Jody Dishes Heretics, so it's like and Metro and David Scott. Yes, we recognize your existence as we're. Yes. I think that's everyone. Hi all.
Now, so in Florida news, just had a racially motivated mass shooting.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
I heard about that.
I have not heard about that.
There.
And we have a hurricane coming our way. So
That's early.
Yeah.
Okay, the hurricane coming, that actually is like not that unusual. That's like actually predictable because of weather and climate and that sort of thing. So there's like fair warning about like hurricanes coming. Sometimes even if it's like unusual for like a tropical storm to hit Los Angeles like it did last week, as it were. But like yeah, and unfortunately, how can you predict like a racially motivated mass shootings? Because I don't want to. Because like maybe mathematically with trends, but again, that just shows how bad it is right now.
But again, that's why they're called stochastic terrorism, because it's...
Well, in a way, I guess I wouldn't say I could like forecast it, but considering how much of a dick this governor's been when it comes to
Or fascist.
Or fascist, yeah. So there was only a moment of time where some white guy would have taken action about it, because you gotta remember politicians, yeah, sarcastic terrorism, and there was only it was only so like I'm trying what was it like it was only a matter of time before there was like somebody that actually went out and actually did what they did. You can't really forecast when that would happen, but I definitely like looked at it and it was getting close. Either the black community or like the gay trans community, one of those were going to get attacked.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm kind of glad this hurricane is hitting us, because I'm just like, if Florida goes, then I'm good. I don't care. I don't care if this state gets hit by a hurricane. Even if I live here, I'm just like, I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
This state is so garbage that I'm glad Mother Nature's reclaiming it for itself. I'm glad. I feel bad for Mother Nature who has to touch it, who has to touch Florida. I feel bad for her in that sense, but wear gloves.
As well, yes, and like Contact Scratch throwing up. I mean, Florida and unlicensed carriers will do that, and stand your ground law, which is how George Zimmerman like killed Trayvon Martin, as it were.
Yeah.
And of course, we're just another couple of months away from yet another race riot.
Yep, exactly.
We just love doing those.
Bill,
we had Charlottesville, then we had January 6th. Now we're gearing up for another one.
Yeah, exactly. What was I about to say? I forgot it. Whoever can go next.
The world is doomed. Everything is no. I'm kidding. I don't think that's actually helpful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if the world is like absolutely doomed or
Yeah.
this thing is doomed or whatnot. The fact of the matter is, like, you can give up or try to figure out something that you can do to help. Like there's not. And giving up is a definite thing. So play to the gambler fallacy and try.
Or it's like a Margaret Killjoy that has the title of her like podcast, "Live as the World is Dying," as we're too. But like that's where I think that like there's can be a nihilism that can set in place. It's like it's so prevalent now online that like we have a meme called the Black Pill, as where, but it's just like I think we gotta like remember is just like now one thing about like I know you're speaking from emotions as well as let the hurricane come and reclaim Florida as well too. The more solution I would actually want to say is just like, well, if everyone that like is like in tough situation or like having financial hardships or build community, like the hurricanes coming, check in with everyone. Do they got what they need? Do they got those emergency supplies? Do they got like emergency water, something like that? Have they boarded up their like houses if it's gonna like be hard and stuff like that? And it's sometimes out of disaster we can, and typically not always, humans can come together in order to like help each other out. Is where we kind of like forget all this like survival of the fittest of like dog eat dog world kind of like mentality, and just be like, is your neighbors okay? Has someone checked on so and so? So that since Florida is just so bad, let's just like let nature take care of it. I actually say let's just give Florida back to indigenous people, as like as well as all of the United States land back as well.
I think we should give Florida back to Cuba.
Would they want it though?
I'll even go further. Maybe Cuba should build a wall around itself too.
No, we already built a wall around them. Fucking embargo.
Yeah, we embargoed the Cuba, so there's economically a wall around Cuba, so there's that, and it like hurts them.
It's like I'm sure Cuba sees all the nonsense going on with DeSantis and like the fascism. It's like, nah, I think we're good being communist. I think we're good because you're turning into shit, Florida. We don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
Well, plus once once Ron DeSantis is out of office, there's still Greg Abbott. There's still like a lot of horrible people. Greg tried to get immigrants to drown Abbott.
With
and
like
they shipped
buoys.
people off to Martha's Vineyard and shit. I mean,
or it's like the buoys in the rivers with like razors or razor blades on that. And it's
People
just like
have died.
not the chainsaw. Yes, yeah, exactly.
But remember, they're Christians. That's what God would have wanted.
No.
I don't know. I don't believe in God, so I don't give a shit.
Yes, and
Well,
no,
yeah,
they
but
only
it's
like the
also-
Old Testament God, the one who wades through rivers of blood.
yeah.
Well, no, they don't even like that. They have the I forgot the person. Like there's like a whole propagandistic campaign that, well, there's been several technically that have just been like, no, we're going to only pick the things that side with fascism and ignore especially the Jesus stuff, because the Jesus stuff is not good for fascism technically. So we're just gonna ignore that. Have a lot of
Well, I mean, of course Jesus
John
is
or
good with
Paul or
fascism.
something.
You've seen the pictures. He's a tall, blonde, white man, straight out of the Garden of Sweden.
I mean, images by fascists to ignore the fact that he was like, Swana region looking guy.
He would have been a swarthy Palestinian Jew.
Yes, exactly. Well, and yet, so yeah, and these are the kind of people that will forget that Jesus is Jew. No, he's a wasp. So we're just, it's just no, he is a Jewish man, as it were. And it's just like, so why do you hate the Jews so much?
Do you guys
Only in
wanna-
the Gospel according to John, which wasn't written by John.
Sure.
Because there might not have been a John.
You guys
But-
want to know how I became an atheist?
I think. Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So it was back around like 2014. I went to I went to church all the way up to 2014, and I only went to church because I was like, I guess, being forced to. I never gave a shit about it to begin with, but so I went from a black church to a more, I guess, ethnically diverse church, and actually the ethnically diverse church were more assholes than the other churches were that I've been to. I remember it was like this white family that I would go to Bible study with, this white family, and they went to like Hollywood, or I saw a picture of them like going to Hollywood saying that they prayed for Hollywood to stop making bad movies, quote unquote. And I'm like,
I mean, I
Part of
want
me-
Hollywood to stop making bad movies, but...
well, I'm like thinks that so you want Hollywood to stop making movies about gay people, but I think you're perfectly fine with like American Sniper. I guess I'm assuming you're more okay with that movie being made than like a movie about gay people, because they attribute
Hey, how about The Happy Medium? A movie about a white guy No.
No. Oh, but they also called Miley Cyrus. It's Miley Cyrus. This is when like she was like doing her thing with her tongue, that wrecking ball thing. They called her like satanic, and I'm like, so Satan, the most evil person in existence. His agent of evil is Miley Cyrus. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess based on their opinion, I don't know. Religion is weird. That's why I left. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I mean, like there are benefits to any elements of community, but yeah, most churches are corrupted by partially because they're easily corruptible, and partially because there's the whole propaganda wing that happened in like the turn of the like 20s 30s. There was like the apostle for rich people guy, or
Billy
whatever.
Graham. No, yeah, Billy Graham.
No, before
Yeah.
Billy Graham.
Oh.
Wow.
All I remember
it's
is
like
that Billy
30s.
Graham was created by rich people to be the prophet of prophets.
Yeah,
you can't see, but that was a pun. Billy Graham, somebody called him the cellophane preacher because he was made by DuPont and you could see right through him.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
But he was a really
Okay,
minor
I'm-
guy operating out of California when they found him and turned him into the leader of the evangelical Christian movement on behalf of rich white people.
Oh no, this is just gonna drive, because this guy is like doing stuff in the 30s, so like Billy Graham is like
About the
20
30s.
years after this guy's.
Oh,
Billy Graham
wait,
was
no. Oh, I
40.
remember. I saw it on the YouTube thing. I think I remember who you're talking about. He was a radio preacher who went on and said,
Was he? I don't remember him being a radio preacher. Wait.
but
think
he
he
was
was.
anti-Semitic and misogynist and all that sort of stuff. I don't. I know vaguely who you're talking about, but I definitely don't remember the name.
Is he from the 20s and 30s? I don't.
He
remember
was
his-
big in the Depression.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember the name of the guy.
I don't remember what YouTube video it was from.
Oh
No, it wasn't the YouTube video. It was from Citation Needed, the podcast. They were talking about Pat Robertson. Was it Pat?
This is the citation needed with like Eli Bosnick and like the scathing atheist.
The cog
guys,
disc
and not
guys
the-
and the scathing atheist guys, yeah. But no,
And
it wasn't. But it was talking about. Oh no, was it Matt Baum talking about the guy who made '70s television? Yes, it was. I think it was Matt Baum's video talking about that guy. Talking about how when he grew up, he saw this guy preaching Nazi stuff and decided to make television
Seinfeld.
that was more inclusive.
We are all over the place on this stream, but like that's how
I'm
we
sorry.
usually...
This is one of those things that always
What?
because it's useful information for like learning how.
Charles E. Coughlin.
Yeah, I think that.
James Fifield, aka Apostle to Millionaires, aka St. Paul of the Prosperous, aka the 13th Apostle of Big Business.
Okay, then that's definitely not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of Charles Coughlin, called the Radio Priest, and a leading demagogue. He was a supporter of Nazi shit.
I guess, well, I mean, there's lots of people who are... James Fifield probably was a supporter of Nazis.
Yeah.
There's a black pastor that's that way too. His name is Creflo Dollar. He's like, I'm Creflo Dollar, and if God wants me to, because like,
that's prosperity gospel. That is, that supports it, and that's if people are rich, it's because God wanted them to be rich, and that's because they're good people. So it definitely supports capitalism.
Gulfstream 350, then I'm gonna get that Gulfstream. You know, he talks like a black pastor, like I did.
But yeah,
I mean, there's definitely a style and a culture to everything like that.
But yeah, it's like 30s, and then he got popular. Fifield was the one who got popular. I guess Fifield was taught by Father Coughlin.
That's the one I was just talking about, Charles Coughlin, the Roman Catholic Nazi from the Radio Priest.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're all connected. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Fifield was just like the popular, the one who really like made it. Coughlin came up with it. Fifield made it popular in America, or more popular. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I'm so glad that CNN doesn't want to interview me whenever there's like a mass shooting like this, because I would just go all in and say, oh, I blame DeSantis fully. I think I blame him completely for this. I wouldn't back, honestly.
I mean, how many mass shooters that write a manifesto, as it were, and like how many of them will cite like Ben Shapiro or something like that, or like other people to just are.
I think only one in recent years has written a manifesto. I think that was the Christchurch shooter.
No, I think the Buffalo shooter also wrote in a manifesto too, but it's just like.
And I think that a lot of them, they don't necessarily cite Ben Shapiro, but when you look into their browser history in their podcasts, you'll find Ben Shapiro in there.
Yeah, but other right-wing figures that do that kind of just has terrorism.
Even what's his name, the Norwegian guy.
Anders Behring Breivik.
The Norwegian guy
He's Behring Breivik, everybody. He's Behring Breiviks to all of us.
Are you suggesting that Benny Capo Chaperone or whatever is
he's just a little dry boy.
Hey, who hates the Barbie movie because it's feminist propaganda.
He got in a fight with a Barbie doll and lost.
If we want to ask if we demonstrate show us on this doll where the Barbie doll hurts you, should we also use a Ken doll instead as well too? Why the hell does that happen as well? That's weird. Like Zoom, just I raised my hand like this. It's on. Yeah. Oh no! Wait. Yeah. Smart for software. I'm gonna put this hand up here for a couple of seconds. There we go. I raised. The people at maybe. Yes.
Huh?
I unload my hand.
Let me try be first place.
You might need to use your other hand because your pop filters.
No.
Yeah,
or maybe the blurred background is making it not work.
Hold it up in front of your face.
I have a perfect idea on how to piss off conservatives even more.
You need to download the update. You haven't downloaded the update yet. So what's your idea to piss off conservatives, Isaiah?
Exist?
We need to send a trans or an LGBTQ person into space for the first time ever.
What makes you think we haven't?
I don't know if we have.
They would have been deeply closeted, otherwise NASA would never have allowed them, especially in the early years.
I mean, Sally Ride was like the fact that she's a lesbian then came up to like much after like her experience in like and
Getting
her
blown
like
up.
space. Yeah. Hmm.
And so she never made it to space, but we tried.
I mean, here's the thing. Like it doesn't take much to piss off conservatives because there's enough. They're constantly being told they need to be mad about something.
And so they make shit up to get mad about.
Yeah, well, the people who are making the content, yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
make shit up to be mad about. The people who watch it might genuinely believe that it's a problem and just are
They're
not
putting litter boxes in our school
stepping back.
bathrooms.
Oh my god, that one. Also, just like sometimes liberals annoy me. in the socialist version of the term liberals,
Yes.
sometimes liberals annoy me because they get too forgiving about some stuff and
Yeah.
It's just economic distress.
Hmm. Yeah.
or just like completely ignore some of the bigger problems with relation to what's going on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Every once in a while I see liberal content. I would argue, because the thing about the Barbie movie, okay, I'm gonna make an argument about the Barbie movie. It does mention some basics of feminism, which is good, but also it's a very liberal movie.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised.
Yeah,
I don't think Hollywood has made communist propaganda since.
No, it has briefly mentioned socialism in a positive light on occasion because the kids seem to find it popular. I assume is their reasoning.
Just
Yeah.
remember,
But like,
Star Trek is a show about socialism. They just don't say it.
Hmm.
but like, yeah, no, it's just they don't. The Barbie movie is very much change is inevitable, change will happen anyway, but nothing about the fact that you have to fight for change.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's less of a focus.
Hmm.
So, which is a very liberal move.
Yeah.
Be
it's
like, oh yeah,
the wig the wig, what's it called? The wig something of history. The wig model. Let's see, this is just gonna bug me.
Yeah. But like people think that like
The wig interpretation.
well, liberals they think that they always like say what like MLK like says is like it always bends towards justice as it were.
The arc of history is long, but it always bends toward justice.
Yes. But I often think that
And
like
the wig
bend
view
on
of
its
history or
own.
the wig interpretation of history is just that progress is inevitable. Some people help it, some people hinder it.
Yeah.
That's where you get the myth of Galileo. You know, that he stood up to the Catholic Church and said, "Per si muove." And no, the Catholic Church was actually an ally of science to a degree at that time. And the heliocentric view was controversial, but it was being hotly debated by Catholic priests, and they weren't being dogmatic in that way.
Yeah.
In the end, he was fucked up because locked up, dealt with harshly by the Catholic Church because Galileo was kind of a dick. And he was really insulting to a lot of people. That included some Catholic priests, and eventually they came for him.
So Galileo was one. It was like the 1600s like versions of like new atheists, as it were, just being total dicks to like religious people.
He wasn't quite Richard Dawkins. He wasn't an atheist, but he was a bit more in terms of new atheists, a bit more like Chris Hitchens.
Oh yeah, the Trotskyists as well.
His nickname in college was the Wrangler. Another podcast I listened to, Our Fake History, did a couple of episodes on Galileo. Does he deserve his reputation as the guy who did this whole thing? And it's a pretty interesting story. He's a interesting character.
Yeah.
But The Wigview history doesn't come into that particular episode, but it's an interesting thing. But you look like you've had something to say for a while now, Ozma.
Yeah, no, it was I don't know, because like that reminded me of the very individualism and the problems with that and the ways that can force people. So like you have figures like Galileo that are given, all the credit for massive works of generations of people or whatever. And then if you don't live up to that, then why bother? Is a very easy way to get people to not do stuff or whatever, when it's a lot of little things, and nobody ever gets stuff done alone. Not really.
Oh yeah. Not ever.
And yeah, and it's a good way for governments or whatever to control people, is to just
Make them
not
complacent.
have people make communities. And you're not always going to agree with communities, and I think a lot of this was just from a recent Leftist Cook episode. That might be what I'm thinking of. That did a good breakdown of that, because you can, like, I guess also a conversation with the activist group I work with, Never Get Action, which is that if you're going to make a movement to do a specific thing, you can't make it try to cover everything, because you'll end up with very few people to actually do it. So, like, depending on the circumstance, I don't know, there's a lot of ways to do things, and I guess my mind's a bit all over the place, because did I mention I have ADHD? I forgot
Welcome
to
to the club.
mention this. Yeah.
That's an outdated and deprecated term. Now it's just ADD. No, I don't actually know that. I know that they basically put them together. One of them is an active model and one is an inactive. So don't ask me.
Yeah. But I guess the other thing is
Davis Gog, let it go. Let it go,
there
let
was
it go, let it go.
something that I don't think I was ever taught, or there's something that I was never conditioned with or whatever. There's an attitude of you have to be exactly right.
Perpetual correctness is where I think that sort of thing too.
Yeah, which is really unhealthy. I'm glad I wasn't taught that. I'm wrong about a lot of stuff, and I've never really had. Maybe it's because I had conversations. I used to have like conversations with my dad. And we were both like, we could be wrong, and it doesn't matter the fact that he's older than me or whatever, and
Yeah, exactly.
knows more stuff or whatever, and or knew more stuff at the time.
I mean,
I don't
like,
know if he knows more stuff currently. I'm very smart.
I mean, like, this is a quote that's attributed to Socrates, and maybe he has said it or not as well, because, like, intelligent man kind of tells you, I know this, and this. A wise man says, I know nothing, but I'm learning. And as we all know from D&D, also, intelligence and wisdom are two separate traits as well.
That is true. But I think it's a very easy way to make things intimidating, but at the same time, sometimes stuff like that gets used to excuse really unforgivably bad behavior. Like, oh, we need to unify, but like people aren't going to want to unify if you're not going to. If you seem to actively despise them or whatever, like they're not going to want to be your friend.
Yeah, that reminds me back when the atheist movement finally broke up. We were talking about how do we get more black people in here. I said, stop inviting the Klan.
Yes. That's it. Yeah, I'll take a look at that native viewpoint article you shared with us, Joe Drumpy another time as well. And thank you for sharing. And hello, Joe Drumpy. Hope you're doing well. Just picking back to a previous topic and point of the hyper individualization of our society, something like that. Julie Dishes Heretics shared a Facebook meme. And it's a meme, and it's absolutely funny and hilarious. It's almost one of those things where it's just like, I don't like this photo because I'm in it and I don't like it. And someone asking, is it hard for you to ask for help and something like that? Me dot dot dot. No, but it's a guy who's moving a couch using a office chair on wheels as the other on the other end of the couch, as it were. And it's just again, I'm in that photo as well. I just honestly said, yes, it is hard. It's hard for me to ask for help. Maybe middle child syndrome, as it were, where it's just I don't want to be a burden onto others, as it were. So
I think that's also a relic of a certain style of parenting.
Yeah.
That they foster independence by just not caring.
being like a distant parent, as it were, or unattentive parent, as it were, to myth of independence. Everyone needs support. Exactly, context wrench. It's just which was so frustrating to this was just years ago when I asked Dad for hey, can you help my friend Joanna Roberts for money as well, and it's after conversations like this I just stopped asking because I know it's not going to go anywhere. He is said, well, can't Joanna's family help her as it were? And it was just no, they are helping her and they're at their limits as well, and they have their own lives as well, so it's there's only so much that they can help. And some of the family members have means to help Joanna Roberts, but it's just it's my money, as it were, or why can't you go in food stamps, or why can't you do this? And so, yeah, and it's just and
because
then
they put barriers in place and it's still not enough.
Yeah, and also I kind of thought, I had the thoughts I think I even asked this to my dad. Why is it on Joanna's family to support her and not any of us? That sounds like a 1, 2, 3, not it sort of thing, or it's not my problem. It's where we're just like I said before, a coworker said when I lamented Phoenix's situation, and my coworker said that's their problem. So it's that's their problem. Why is it bothering you?
This atomization into just nuclear family, nothing else, goes back to the 1850s, if not earlier.
Yeah.
People started moving into talking that these single family homes back in as soon as industrialization started happening.
Yeah. It's not surprising that this guy who said that's their problem is a Joe Rogan fan.
Ooh. And it used to be communities did take care of people. I mean, they didn't necessarily love it, and when times got hard, those people tended to be accused of being witches or werewolves, and they got eliminated. That's why it's always the old woman, the one who needs to be taken care of by the community.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on where you are too, because I think there's a lot more community work in rural communities and some non-white communities. There's more
mutual aid.
There's more mutual aid and more community factors than the general the assumed default, which is always going to be white people because white supremacist society.
Yep.
I mean, well, considering the history of white people, I mean, world wars and shit, you guys should take care of each other more.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget the genocides of white people, white supremacy has perpetuated as well as settler colonialism. As Joey Dishes Heretic would always say, always come back to colonizers as well. Can you blame settler colonialism for...
Colonizer, you're a colonizer.
Can we blame settler colonialism for, everything? Not every single thing, but a lot of things.
And it certainly made things worse. I mean, there was racism before, settler colonialism and the industrialized slavery of the American Southeast.
Yeah.
But they sure as hell made it worse.
Yeah. It's speaking of hate for other people or distrust for other people that some people don't understand, and understandably because it doesn't make sense. Kirok said last week in our last episode he doesn't understand the hate the Jewish people get And that's why we have you also on the Dark on the show and stuff like that.
Okay, so if we want to get back to, okay, so where to start with the anti-Semitic stuff? Probably when Christianity split or decided to try to separate from, just make more distinction away from Jewish people, and then sided with Rome.
So
And then
that would be the mid '90s, literally '90s. There's no previous
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And there's been a lot of hate. I mean, there was hate before then, or whatever, by Rome, and there's definitely hate after it. There's just been a lot of hate. And
Well, if they had just settled down and been good little subjects, I mean, if you just behave well, then we wouldn't have to hurt you. That's what
oh
I'm
God, oh no, oh no, not that sort of reasoning. But like, yeah, no, there's current hate. There's the evangelical churches that want to bring about the apocalypse, which is why they support the Israeli government. There's the Israeli government, which has not gotten rid of attitudes of white supremacy, because it's hard to undo white supremacist conditioning, which is why it is currently an apartheid state. But then again, there is also the assumption. So there's the contra. So I have mixed feelings. It's easy to have mixed feelings about a lot of things, because like I was born and raised Jewish, so therefore there are a decent number of people who think I need to answer for everything that Israel is doing because I'm born and raised Jewish. That I have to make sure to say something about it, because the Israeli government is speaking for Jewish people or whatever. But like, there are a lot of. I mean, first off, there's been a lot of speaking out against it, anyways.
Yeah.
But and like, yeah, sure, I will. But like, because I'm also like, I talk politics. I want to, make my position clear on stuff, and also I have a platform to do so to some degree. But like, I don't think every Jewish person needs to atone for something a different country is doing, that is doing horrible things, is doing.
Yeah.
So it gets complicated, and then sometimes things can be used to justify certain anti-Semitic stuff as well. It's a lose-lose situation. If the Israeli government is doing something horrible, then then that's bad, and you should feel bad about that. If the Israeli government is viewed in a positive light, look, there's a place for you to be shipped to. If we get angry enough at Jewish people in this country.
Any stick's good enough to beat a dog.
Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. They will always find a reason. It's because there's not actually any justification.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, I have a problem with any apartheid state, and like I said, that I don't think the Israeli government was born to some degree of European colonial settler mentality.
Oh, I mean, they were very open. The early calls for Zionism were very open about calling it colonization.
Yeah. But the same time, like briefly before that, no country wanted us. The American government had a special extra list to try to prevent Jewish people in small lettering, extra long in like the 30s, to try to
The SS St.
No
Louis.
refugees.
Have you heard of that story, Ozma?
The what?
The SS St. Louis, the ocean liner that was turned away that had Jewish refugees leaving Europe. Before
Probably. I can't remember the specifics of that. I'm just aware that our
The
government,
U.S. turned away refugees.
yeah, the U.S. specifically created policies to make it harder for Jewish people to immigrate to America. Sort of like what we're doing, what Biden is doing currently.
Yeah.
With the app, and the app that kind of understands, kind of uses some Spanish and none of the other languages that are spoken, and Spanish it's poorly translated to Spanish, is English first.
Yeah.
Because obviously English is the only language that people should understand, because it is the perfect true language.
And
apparently,
refugees
in
are
this country.
famous for their app using skills.
Yep.
They have all the
That's-
best phones in Guatemala.
Yeah. It's just
No,
like.
It's fine if you come in here illegally. We will ship, even if you're a refugee of like a horrible place that would you'd likely end up dead in. We will ship you back. Is our current policy. Ship you back to the country you're fleeing from, and I guess it's not a problem for like 5 to 7 years or whatever. It's just abysmally bad.
And note that Biden never closed Trump's concentration camps.
Yep.
Oh no. He got rid of, and not only did he not close the, well, obviously the concentration camps were well before Trump, but Trump put a bunch of policies into place, and Biden got rid of like one of those policies out of like, I don't know, 20 something. That all made everything worse. And plus, but I haven't read the more recent news. I should, because I know, well, outside the Republicans trying to get end any sort of immigration related
Yeah.
stuff. There was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he wants to shoot migrants. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Stop doing a stochastic run.
And I'm gonna be honest. There's like so many times where I just want to just beat the shit out of that guy. I'm serious.
We should not advocate their in Fortnite, in Minecraft. We should beat the shit out of like Ron DeSantis is where I can definitely understand the urge, honestly. We can't do it to Scats Garrisons ourselves as work, even though the target has done a lot more of that as work.
My God. If I had like a golf club, oh my god.
Well,
This-
I suppose I now all I can think about is the Homelander comparison of Ron DeSantis and Homelander. Getting pissed. But no, the thing is, there's been new studies which also say the things that every time there's been a study on our concentration camps here, it has showed neglect and torture, and nothing has ever been done about it. And I assumed nothing had been done about it, and lo and behold,
Nothing has
nothing has been done about it. This
Yeah.
is about Michigan, man custody of eyes, blah blah blah, with an open wound from surgery, no bandages, and no follow-up medical appointment scheduled, even though he still had surgical drains in place. And I do not believe, like, I have heard nothing to suggest that they got rid of the hysterectomy thing going on.
You mean the forced
I will
sterilizations?
not believe that they stopped the forced sterilizations, because I have no reason to think that they stopped the forced sterilizations, because
I mean, eugenics, it's
Genocidal
race
attitudes.
science. It's science.
Uh, yeah, and is kind of yeah, it's just all horrible in this. As it were, U.S. history repeating itself over and over again. As it were, and like even like the other things has always been a like problem. Like if how there was like a New Yorker article that don't actually sent out. There's a story of years ago of how it's like the services are like some of them are in Spanish as it were, or they provide translators as it were. But the problem is with some of the people that are seeking asylum or they're refugees or migrating like here or something like that, they don't speak Spanish because they're indigenous as well. They speak Zapotec
Yeah.
as well, and they're expected to like know Spanish or expected to speak English. And just like with bureaucracy, as like David Graeber has gone on and on about like in utopian rules and bullshit jobs, it's like get one thing wrong as it were, and you have to start all over again and just like wait for like a long period of time, or you just get denied and then like just like asked to go home as well too. It's,
The failure and the
sometimes-
frustration is the point.
yeah, exactly. It is.
Yeah.
And he-
And certainly nothing to worry about with the whole arrest first, ask questions later. Definitely hasn't been several U.S. citizens who have been put into these camps occasionally because they look too much like they might be, from across
Brown.
the border.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they were here before the border was there. Hispanics were in the U.S. before the U.S. was there.
Yeah, exactly. That's like in Joey would always the legislators would always say the border across them as it were.
Across them.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, the history of Texas alone, my God, just like and so many
That
people
was the
like,
third time. Yes, the third time that the U.S. went to war on behalf of slavery.
yeah. Why did people just like hate us word? Also, yeah, as you mentioned it, talking about like how you as a Jewish person, you don't speak for the Israeli government's word. This is one thing that I remember too, especially when like people are going after like Russian people as it were. Like, listen, the person is not the same as their government as it were too. Bilbo Cats 17 has been a guest on our show and stuff like that, and yeah, he can say it's like, listen, I don't agree with like what like the Russian government is doing as well. No, not at all. Too. So it's that.
By the way,
Yeah, many of us we are all of us in this call is like USA citizens. We have our criticisms of the U.S. government, like the immigration is just one thing too. So that's one thing to remember as well. But like, yeah, it's just like. I don't know. It's just like it's all this like bigotry and like prejudices and irrational hate and anti-Semitism. It's just irrational. I just wonder.
Here's another from on Greg Abbott. Branded evil for sending migrant bus to L.A. In the middle of tropical storm Hillary.
I bet he thought that was very symbolic. Hillary.
Yeah.
I don't know. He said enough fascist things.
Yeah.
Just the whole immigrants are invading our country.
But yeah, and like 8 years ago, Tabby Wolf was on the stream was like reading articles about like Proud Boys attacking like immigration rights advocates as were counter protesting that sort of thing too, and he read the part where it's just like how the Proud Boys or other fascists were using cans of raids against immigrant advocates as it were too, and we just thought that okay, they're just being fascists and like harassing people that they don't like because we're using a can of raid just like weapons that were. It wasn't until like a nice friend of ours in the chat said, "There's a reason to use the can of raid." Here we go. Oh, they chose that for a purpose, eradicating the vermin, as it were, and roaches.
They love their racism. The fascists, well, it's not just fascist, but racism, bigotry, always called them vermin. It's like anti-Semitic propaganda going back centuries. well before
Mhm.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that built up long before the Elders of Zion type propaganda, which that I've read some of that from the FBI archives. It is not well written. Jewish people are basically like evil villains, like 50s evil villains. So very much like mustache twirling. We're going to do this because we're so evil and we're doing the evil things that it's really it's bad, and I'm sad at how effective it was or whatnot, because yeah, because then you had like Henry Ford
You know
we
why
were
square
here
dancing and
promoting
line
stuff.
dancing are so prevalent in the U.S. today?
Well, Henry Ford was mentioned in Mein Kampf, I think. He's like isn't he the only American like Hitler named by name in his book?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I have not read that particular book. I am aware that Ford did. It is a major part of the reason for the neo-Nazi movement in America, for setting that up.
Yeah, he had this newspaper, the International Jew, or something similar to that title, and like the line dancing thing was because he was trying to actively fight against black and Jewish influence. He wanted white music, white dancing, so he was actively spreading that to schools throughout the country. He was a potent force for white supremacy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only people who don't count me as white are like anti-Semites.
Yeah, Jews have
because
only
I
ever
am
had a
super
most
white.
tenuous grasp on the ability to be white.
Well, it's complicated because white in itself has its own hierarchy. Because white supremacy, it's essentially, Northern Europe is the ideal, and everything away from that, and it starts to be
With the
lesser cost.
eliminate,
Essentially, there's an end goal to white supremacy, and chances are you would get kicked out if they could.
yeah. I mean, basically, once if they ever won, and once they eliminated all the brown people and then the Jews, then they would have to start segregating whiteness, and we would go back to the pre-white versions of race science, where it's not about whiteness. You have the English and the Irish and the Welsh and the French all being declared separate categories. They will always find ways to parse it down, because there's not actually anything there. So,
Yeah,
it's and because there always has to be an enemy, they'll always find one.
yeah. I mean that's the problem with hierarchical structures in general. When they were with regards to life, you always end up with weird and awful stuff like this. And there isn't actually a reason, because it's a presupposition. The idea, the nature of there is an ideal version of what it means to be human is just like a presupposition that really is at the root of a lot of these problems.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I read on my Twitch stream, which turned out to be an excerpt from a book that the author wrote, article on the history of the word normal, as it were. Spoiler warnings, it involves eugenics.
Oh, what?
I am
yes.
shocked to find that
Eugenics?
there's eugenics in this institution.
No, yeah, because like the ideal normal person doesn't exist, even by the person who was creating that standard, as it were, and but also who would like to the ideal standard of a normal, healthy person. He picked like Scottish white men, as it were, the fittest white men you can like find from like the army, that sort of thing too. It is a bizarre history as well, and also the body mass index, which most of us here know that like that's BS, as it were. There's like no is. Again, the zoom feature, as it were, I had my hand up, now I lower my hand, and now it's like, It's it was not a doctor or a physician of any kind that came up with the body mass index. It was a mathematician, as it were. And
Yeah.
it was just like an experiment, as it were. And then once the insurance companies wanted to have like their own metric, as it were, to like how to like segregate essentially healthy people, as it were, for so that healthy people don't have to pay as much, while the unhealthy people have to pay more as well. I'm sure Contest Press can like give her thoughts on like insurance companies and like all that sort of thing too as well. Cause yeah, that's a whole can of worms as well too. Yeah, normal is just
We're going
like
to find a way to define something very narrowly, but also mathematically, so that we can avoid giving money to anyone who needs it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the important thing is that math is involved. It doesn't matter the other elements of proving things. Like, obviously, math is objectively correct. It's not definitely
yes.
not just a tool that you use for the purposes of getting other stuff done. No,
Like, look,
obviously,
I measured
if there's
the
math
skulls.
involved,
What's with your people and skulls? And Journal of Ethics. Oh boy, what do you linked for me? Those, oh, how to use a VMS to fetishize white embodiment
Oh,
and
Journal of
racialized
Ethics. I thought you said Journal of Ethnics. I didn't actually think that, but
Yeah. And racialized as like phobia. Yep,
mm-mm.
I'm not surprised. Again, it was just like white people that were set to be like the standard of normal, as it were. Which goes into white supremacy, which is always seems to be involved with this sort of thing too, as well, doesn't it?
well, that's because white supremacy specifically got really popular and happened to end up being the most successful supremacist view or whatnot.
I mean, the Chinese
yeah.
had their own thing, but they didn't end up winning the global race. It's the global race war.
Well, they weren't trying to win the type of global. I don't get the impression that in Chinese culture there was the motivation to try to rule the world or whatever, just have China be the best or whatever.
I mean, they thought
the nationalistic stuff was definitely heavily there, but not necessarily we need to make the entire world us.
Yeah, no, they were content to just be China and to exert influence in their area. They weren't thinking in global terms. They thought that but they were the best and they were great and that was fine, and just they expected people to come to them, and then Britain came with opium and showed that they needed to think on a global scale, and they tried, but it didn't quite work out that way. I've been listening to a history of China, so
yeah, no, that sounds about right. I had learned a little bit of history in China, though not a lot in AP history in high school or whatever. So my knowledge of the history of China is limited to some degree.
There is a bit. There's racialization in the way Chinese dynasties and so on have viewed themselves and others, and because Asia is a huge place and complex geography. You get lots of different ethnicities and cultures going on there, and there's been conflicts based around that. They didn't have, I didn't think, ever the complex sort of Han supremacy like we have white supremacy or something like that.
Yeah.
At least I don't think so.
I don't think so either, because it doesn't really play out in their actions. Because you see a lot more of the land domination from other countries or countries that have been influenced by white supremacy, like I feel like Russia is more inclined to care about territory than China, like far more or whatnot.
Well, I
think China cares more about influence.
Well, China, a lot of what it's done is motivated by territory. Like the reason it has Tibet is because of the geographical fact that the Tibetan Plateau is where both of those main rivers start.
Mm.
So controlling Tibet controls their water supply and also provides them with a more secure border against India.
That's true. I mean,
So I mean that influence can't be denied. And their actions in the South China Sea and so on is pushing back against U.S. encirclement, things like that.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Like what they said earlier in the conversation, those in powers have to justify why they have powers. So like so they require findings that those differences as were, yeah, and that makes sense as words like because the white people happen to be in power, the colonialism and domination and that sort of thing too. They have to justify why they're in power. You're the king? I didn't vote for you. Well, I was chosen to be king. A divine intervention, as it were, or something like that.
The Lady of the Lake. Glad just shimmering same mind. But yeah, and that's another thing. Justification of power. They got that very early in China. The mandated heaven.
Yeah.
If you win, then you were supposed to win. If you lost, then you weren't supposed to win. Very simple and straightforward justification.
Yeah. If and George Rumpy, that is actually like cute and funny that your 2-year-old nephew was like saying, "Hi Harry, hi Hurricane Harry," as it were. I mean, the hurricane has a name, so why not say hi to it? They're knocking at your doorstep, as it were.
Lost
Be right back, quick.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
I'll still hear you.
Yes. Oh, okay. So just like with like
Just stepping away from the computer for a moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like you dropped Brockman, how like you can still hear us while you're in the bathroom and stuff like that. At least we can't hear you, or this, especially when you're doing your business as well. Because that actually did happen on like a live stream that I've heard of, is where it was on back when Google Hangouts on air was the thing. Google Hangouts is still a thing, but Google Hangouts on air is not a thing. But yeah, the guy thought he like muted his microphone as were. He didn't. He brought his headset into the bathroom. Why? Some people do this. I don't understand why. My best friend does it. He did it in the past. It's like, thankfully, I only hear him doing his business when he's going number one. But I'm still just like, could you at least not talk to me on mute when you're doing that? Jeez. But no, this guy like thought he muted himself. Brought his headset in the bathroom. The entire stream heard everything, including the plops and the slashes, too.
Well, of course it's a beach. I'm a cat. I need the sand. What are you talking about, David?
It's the beach is in, but what? Like the sandy beach is like you as a cat, like your giant kitty litter.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I will have to say about my cats. So, like when they're like sick or like do the business, they will bury it as it were too. So it's just like you gotta be neat and cleanly as it were too. That's some Naked Gun action. That's right. That was in the Naked Gun movie. I remember that as well too. Yes. So many jokes in there that I'm glad I did not get when I was a kid. Nice beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed. And
don't forget the transphobia.
Yes, the transphobia. Naked Gun 33 and the third was like the worst with that too. 90s humor as it were, and just like yeah.
And also Anna Nicole Smith too.
Yes. Yes, Anna Nicole Smith. Mm-hmm.
So for Christmas, actually no, for my birthday in November, I've already found my birthday gift that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys
what
want?
Is it?
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's a Powerpuff Girls water pipe.
Oh.
Nice. No, I'm all for that. That sounds cool.
Buttercup too.
I still have not watched the original show. I'm sure it's like a great show. I would love it. I've seen a couple episodes of it, so I actually do know that like I will enjoy the show a lot. I enjoy his humor.
I watched Daria the other day too, because I have that whole show on DVD.
Mm-hmm. That show still holds up as well.
I remember Daria.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch that back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the existence of the show.
one of the many shows that's like spun off from like Beavis and Butthead, Daria and like King of the Hill,
South Park.
No, I don't think South Park's
No.
spun off from like Beavis and Butthead because
No.
like
No, it's
Yeah,
just a
like-
similar kind of style in terms of
yeah, honestly,
juvenile humor in cartoon form.
Mhm,
Adult
yeah.
juvenile humor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, the '90s were so magical.
They were very colorful. We had our first black president, and everything was good for white people.
Yeah, we had our first
That was.
in Deep Impact, the movie. Yeah.
Oh.
No, where I was talking about Bill Clinton. They actually called him the first black president.
No, man, people had called him the first black president, even though he fudged the numbers in order to make it look like the economy was good, and like Hillary Clinton, his wife, said talked about super predators back then in the '90s, and Bill, and with like the Democratic Party and like Joe Biden were tough on crime as well, so it's just like apparently Puff Girls is technically propaganda, so I'll keep that in mind. It's yeah.
Bill Clinton was not good.
No.
It's
No, he firmly cemented neoliberalism.
But
And
stop hating on everybody's favorite president. Bill Clinton didn't know.
Oh God.
That's my Bill Clinton accent. Sorry.
I love how you call it. I love how you call it the accent as well, and not an impression as well.
Specifically, Bill Clinton accent. Like there's.
There's an Obama one too. So,
well, no, he has several. He knows code switching.
We are going to
That's true.
pass this law right now. I don't know. That's my Obama one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good word.
No, the nationalism of our country is really, really awful.
Yeah.
So what accent would George Bush have? Is because I know he's from Texas, but he doesn't really talk like he's from he. I don't know.
Let's see. He did say like there's insanity in Tennessee. I think it's in Texas too. But like, fool me once, shame on you.
Who he twice?
You fool me, can't get fooled again.
Oh, Michael Moore, your Fahrenheit 9/11 gave me that.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good movie as well too. Because like there was at least like a lot of there's at some points where it's just like that film is just fully honest. Michael Moore go up to like every member of Congress that he meets. It's like, hey, I noticed that like only one member of the Congress has like their son and daughter that's like joined the armed services. Would you like to send your son and daughter to the armed services, like sort proving that like no, these people do make decisions about the armed services and what to do with it as well, while none of them have a stake in it whatsoever as well. They don't have to go out and fight on their own, and their sons and daughters never have to, and children never have to fight on it on their own. It's yes, they just always send the poor as were.
I'm suddenly instinctively wanting to go back to because I'm hearing a bunch of upsetting facts or whatever, and now my brain is like wants to go back into like stuff you can do in terms of stuff because like I think and maybe this is just how my brain is working at the moment. I heard voting. Well, first off, yes, voting is like the weakest action, but I've heard the best description. It's the wax on, the wax off at Karate Kid. It's not the cool fighting stuff. It's not the stuff that would actually help you directly in a fight, but it's a good thing to do type thing. And I mean, technically, wax on, wax off is just basic teaching of what like internal and external, or inside and outside block.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, if you build up certain campaigns from the ground up, it's easier for that to influence larger campaigns. It just, depending on where you are, depending on how gerrymandered your place is, depending on who's running, it's
depending on the voter suppression, depending on like if Brian Kent is the Secretary of State and he's going to like throw off ballots as it were too.
yeah, like I can understand how it can feel extra hopeless, but there's just like extra layers to try to demotivate voting. But also I do think doing trying to dip your hand into doing something. I think a lot of people think activism is a lot of stuff all at once. It's a lot of planning
Yeah.
and doing stuff some of the time. It's not because
It's
people
a lot
have
of
their own
routine
lives.
maintenance. It's boring. That's why women are so good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just because the conversation I had, someone was in chat was just like, "Oh, I hear a lot of talking and not a lot of action." And it was like, I had just gotten back from the Austin, Texas protest against Greg Abbott. It's like, yeah, sure, there isn't a lot of action, but the general goal is to have action that's going to be as safe as possible to get the most effective results as possible or whatever. And then as things escalate, things potentially get more dangerous, but you need to have people hear about it, have people pay attention or whatever. People are less likely to hear about something that
Yeah.
is just
A
like
lot
a
of it is
couple
laying the
people doing
groundwork.
one thing.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of it is laying the groundwork. If you don't have enough people, it's not going to work. If you don't have things focused enough, you're not going to be able to get the number of people you need. And let's be honest, conservatives have done a better job at organizing
I think
recently.
part of that is the fact that it's built around the white supremacist churches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And churches have
helps.
always been very effective centers for organizing that sort. I mean, that's why the civil rights movement was so effective.
Yeah, I'm about to say that. Yeah, that or barbershops.
Well, they found community centers where the community is there, so that they can like get the community together to like do like group action as well too as well.
Yeah, and the religious factor not being ignored was something that was talked about a bunch. Like spiritual power, effectively, just to actually get people to like what was it? Sorry, I they're doing a lot of teaching and a lot of just like working through stuff because Never Again Action is trying to improve. Never Again Action is not that old, so it's being built up.
Yeah,
its spirit was just people power, spiritual power, narrative power, and electoral power.
Yeah,
those are the four. That's how it was broken down. How
So
to
where
do
would
each
the
of
military action when we finally start the global revolution? Would that be people power?
the military action, look, as how should I put it? Military action tends to make it easier to get fascists into power.
So what you're saying
like,
is the type of thinking that is very appealing to a white guy in the U.S. is not good.
yeah, I mean, not to say that military action might never happen, but there's plenty of revolutions that have occurred without military action, and information is spread a lot more nowadays, a lot more quickly nowadays. I'm not sure if that would be viable. I mean, people need to know that there's a revolution happening for them to join a revolution or whatnot. I think that's why Thomas Paine has a lot of credit for starting a lot of revolutionary aspects of the American Revolution. But like, without the people power, without all the other types of power, you're not going to be able to get the military on your side. The military has to be forced on your side.
Yeah.
And the only way they're going to do that is if they don't want to kill you. or they are aware of their exploitation and the degree of their exploitation, and you have to do the other stuff to get that, regardless.
The military is an interesting bit, because remember, in the communist revolution in Russia, the military split in half, or roughly. You know, half of them followed their hierarchical instincts and kept with the far right and tried to, you know, keep the Tsar in place, but half of them joined the communists because they were drawn from the working poor, just like every other army. So it's not a given that they'll join the fascists, but that is something that we have to be concerned about.
Well, if you do it without the other stuff, I feel like there's if you don't have the people and the narrative power, like, you're probably not going to have enough people join up from the military. Like, you still need the other stuff to lay the groundwork for the military stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that happened before. There's usually a lot of stuff that happens before military revolts or whatever.
And of course, in the U.S. context, we have to remember that the white supremacists have actively been infiltrating military and law enforcement for decades, so that is an additional concern. So here in the U.S., probably not going to be on our side. It's going to be far more tipped toward the fascists.
Well, yeah, that's why we have to protest and force the hand of liberals so that they actually do something about it. And forcing people's hands is hard. You have to make it so they feel like they're in threat of not getting into office again.
Well, they're already at threat of that because they suck.
I mean,
but I know what you mean.
Okay, so it depends on where you are. So here's the problem. The problem is, I agree with you for the most part, but also I live in Minnesota, and the Democratic Farmer and Labor Party, or whatever, because we didn't fully get rid of the Labor part, apparently, have actually done the things that everyone wishes the Democratic Party would do, generally, which is, you know, undo a lot of stuff that undo gerrymandering, make it so that companies cannot force you to go to anti-union propaganda, or cannot legally force. It is illegal for companies to force you to anti-union propaganda currently in Minnesota, or at the very least it will be as soon as the law fully goes into effect. It either is in effect now or will be in effect. Stuff like that, and also helping farmers or whatever, and also the making pot finally legal and all this stuff. It's just, I think we just need to wait for a couple older DFL people to stop being in the Minnesota government. But like, it's just that there's a risk with that though, because it's a success. There's a risk of complacency. There's also the driver's license for all thing was also passed in Minnesota, which also helped. There's just like a slew of laws. I can't remember all of them, and there's still so much more that needs to be done. But like, you know, good that they did that. Good that they did the bare minimum that nobody else is fucking doing.
Did they do anything about the whole cops murdering black people thing?
No, there's I think there's a federal thing going on with Minneapolis police, if I recall correctly, because of the Minneapolis police stuff. But yeah, no, we have not. That has not been an issue that has been solved, and which doesn't help in itself, like a problematic thing. I think the federal government is dealing with Minneapolis police. Federal investigation. Justice Department finds civil rights violations. So, um, yeah, because the civil rights violations, Minneapolis Police, the Justice Department might be stepping in to deal with them. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know for sure, but
Definitely depends on who wins in 24.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But stuff is happening. Stuff is actually happening, and it isn't just Democrats doing what the Democratic Party as a whole does, which is, you know, keep stuff wherever the Republicans left it. Tends to be what the Democratic Party tends to do.
Yeah. Ratchet and Paul. The Republicans move us to the right, the Democrats keep us from moving to the left. Like the Republican tax cuts under Trump, I mean, they were just heavily just slashed everything. And then the Democrats come back and they reverse it, but only a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is part of the reason why change never comes from above. The classic saying, change never comes from above, because it doesn't. If you're going to make actual change, you have to build it up from the bottom, from like state, city, and local, or whatever. And on top of that, not just voting, yes, but also more importantly, organizing and building community and finding out ways to fight for, learning ways to fight for stuff or whatever. And that doesn't mean necessarily on the ground. That can just mean the paperwork side of things. There's lots of, like I said, there's lots of factors. If you know sign language, if you can speak multiple languages, like there's always a potential role with any community action for anything. And even if you don't do things and just learn and are capable of spreading knowledge, like it's sort of like you guys help with people's needs or whatever, and just spreading spreading that is a form of mutual aid, and you're still doing you're still doing something or what. And you can maybe in the future people can find each other, work together, because like you can have more than one people work for the same stuff. Like if you found someone else who was doing mutual aid and you're like, hey, you can do wanna like combine forces for mutual aid type thing. That's always something that can be done, but also everyone has only so many spoons, and like and because of the fallacy of individualism, people are expected to do everything on their own. And
whenever I advocate for like anarchists and socialism, eventually it comes up to like, well, what's your solution as a word, or like, well, what are you doing about that as a word? And it's just like it's got sometimes they genuinely actually want to know. Other times they just like say it as like a gotcha to get me to shut up as a word, like a thought terminating cliches, that sort of thing too as well.
Like there's difference between. So yes, there is the term armchair socialist.
Internet activist.
Yeah,
Twitter
which
activist.
which is more. Well, no, I was thinking. Well, Twitter activists. I'm too aware of actual mutual aid going on. Previously on Twitter, I'm like Twitter. I'm like, I don't really associate. I associate actual things getting done with Twitter, actually, or before Elon Musk's takeover. Elon Musk taking over is kind of
Elon Musky. That's why I call him.
Yeah, it's kind of hurt a lot of mutual aid programs that were going on Twitter, and a lot of community organizing that was going on Twitter. So, yeah, that doesn't help with things. But yeah, no, there you can be when I yeah, armchair socialists who just like say things and spout problems and don't really talk about what to do about any of them or whatever, and just delve too far into the philosophy of things
Yeah.
and completely ignore the action. Like there's a difference between that. There are extremes of that where it's like, did you even read this particular activist?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who actually do stuff, but I don't know. Most of the people who do stuff who are like actually involved with work don't care. If
Yeah.
uh, if you even if you've done a lot of stuff, because the important thing is, it doesn't matter if you've never done activism before, so long as are you interested? Are
Mhm.
you okay? Well, then come here. Are you not okay? Then don't bother us
Yeah.
or whatever. Or tell if you think it's a good thing still and you don't want to help, mention to other people. The mixture of like promotion, mentioning stuff, and just trying to get the energy going. And
Mhm.
because like if something ends up big enough, people are motivated to go. If organizations get big enough,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people that will show up if you get the organization promoted enough, a lot of the people are just there to be there or
Mhm.
whatever, because they agree with the general cause even if they don't. I think what was that listed as? Yeah, just the crowd.
Mhm.
The essentially the leader is the base in the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd is the people who show up, who just show up to protest but don't get into the other stuff with regards to protests,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which isn't a bad thing.
Mhm.
It's every person counts or whatever. It's just,
Even liberals.
yeah. Look, I said Barbie's a liberal movie or whatever, but like it does teach the basics of feminism. It does kind of teach how feminism fucks over Ken too. And does it in a funny, silly way that has
Yeah.
some good jokes.
Mhm. It's a fun movie. It's not gonna be like anything revolutionary as it were, but that's fine too. We can also have our entertainment as well. We can just have like
A
fun with something
revolution
as it
without
were.
dancing, right?
Yes, if revolution without dancing is not a revolution I want to have, as Emma Goldman said. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. So if we have like gone a little bit over the time, but that's no, it's fine. It's like this like conversation's been great.
I could keep talking for a bit.
I mean, yeah, I can keep talking too. That's why I do have my own Twitch stream as it were, because like I can ramble on like no other. So might as well just like turn on the camera, turn on the microphone, like turn on OBS,
I mean,
play a video game while I'm doing that.
I say that I will at some point today. I will need to get groceries. Uh,
Yes. But so thank you for coming on Awesome in the Dark. It's nice to like have you on and have a nice conversation about like a lot of different things. Why do people hate Jewish people for reasons as it were, and many other things. So where can people find you?
at the moment, I am not in a lot of places. So you can find me on I might start doing immigration related news on the Fluid Voice. Hopefully, I need to figure out an intro. I'm just getting really annoyed with the intro because I'm not aware of like a lot of immigration action things that make good sound bites or whatever, and I don't want to make it in such a way because there's a lot of bad stuff with regards to immigration, but
Buy
if the
wire
sound bites
cutters.
are bad, I would just be concerned about accidentally promoting that stuff. I'm like, I don't want that. I want like the people who are fighting for, more immigrant rights or fighting against the carceral system. But yeah, so I might show up there. I've got my main channel. As soon as I get my life into order a little bit more, I plan on um doing a bunch of stuff on that channel, but like yeah, at the moment life has been like has unfortunately been a bigger issue. But yeah, hopefully I can get stuff up on either Ozma in the Dark YouTube, the Ozma in the Dark YouTube channel, or the Fluid Voice. And I'm probably not going to Twitch stream for again for quite some time because that has dropped in priority.
Yeah.
Because I can't promote, like, I need to be regularly on Twitch to promote it, and I need to deal with other stuff. I need to learn Spanish because it's weird for me not to work with immigration justice and not know Spanish.
Right,
That's
yeah.
weird.
I heard Babbel's pretty good.
No.
Some people use Duolingo as well too, and that's an excellent point.
For the language learning thing. Sorry, I thought it was my brain went to translation program for some weird reason.
Yeah, that's one of the things that sucks about the language learning models, these like ChatGPT. You can no longer do the thing where you translate something in and out of a language several times and come up with nonsense. They're just too good these days.
Yeah.
But before we leave, I just want to remind you, be able to see the picture on the stream, that Billy Graham, he looks like somebody put his face in Photoshop, circled his face, and brought it down just a little bit to give him an extra forehead and not enough chin.
But
Oh dear.
Yes, I see it now on the stream. And that's a good point, like Jordan Dishes Heretic. Liberals are excellent at making entertainment that doesn't quite change much about like people's thinking. And that's liberalism right there. It's like liberalism is just non-radical, so it's like doesn't quite change things.
The liberals are the conservatives. The conservatives are the fascists.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I could at least see with the Barbie movie it opening some doors for some people. But like it definitely isn't going to show you where the doors are.
You're not going to make $1 billion with a truly radical film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
with that, we
Isaiah Taylor. What you go ahead?
I was going to say we should go.
Yes. So Isaiah Taylor, you have like a Instagram, a couple of YouTube channels as well. Do you want to promote those as well?
Yeah, I'm not really on Instagram much as I used to be because I but I still have my page up there. It's Isaiah Taylor 60, so ISIAH.TAYLOR 60, number 60. Look for the Enterprise D as the thumbnail. Oh, as my avatar. And then for YouTube, I am Sinister Intelligence. And now that I got my job, another job, I can actually now make videos again. I took a long hiatus from doing that. I want to get a video up by I want to say Friday, depending on what this hurricane does. And then I have another video called the Autistic Model. I mean, another YouTube channel called the Autistic Modeler Society.
Yeah.
Where you get to see all my like projects and things that I'm doing.
I got those links there. I'll put them in the live chat now. And I'm, of course, I'm Summer Geek. Summer Geek on Twitter. Yes, I'm on that hell site. I'm on like less hell sites and co-hosts and like Tumblr. Summer Geek on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. I just haven't posted anything in several months. And Summer Geek on Twitch. After we get off the call, and maybe if I eat something or not, or we will eat something, I will go to Twitch to do some Twitch streaming because like it's new season Fortnite, and I want to get in some Fortnite grinding as well. Especially since like this season is going to be short. It's only 70 days. It's going to end on November 2nd as well, or 3rd. But yeah,
cosplay, like Star Trek cosplay ideals. Now that I got a new job, I can now look at those things.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome. And John Brepman, you're part of another podcast, aren't you?
Yes, Dungeons and Debacles. We may even get to record tonight. All right. And with that, I think we can go. Bye-bye,
Don't
everybody.
forget charity links.
Hey,
Yep,
is there-
bye-bye. Don't
there-
CharityLinks.page.
There fluid
Good.
voice tonight, Ozma? I'm just asking.
What was
What?
that? Your mic kind of blipped out a bit there.
No, I was asking Ozma, is there a fluid voice tonight?
No, we're still in retooling.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the probably if there's something that's going to show up on the Fluid Voice, it's more likely going to be a side project. But which just to try to keep it active or whatever while we sort that, because I cannot. I mentioned it on the thing. I can't deal with all the non-technical stuff. The non-technical stuff's the hard stuff for me. Technical stuff's the easy part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And between life and my own anxieties, I just and just my own. I'm not good at some stuff. I'm not good at socializing or making friend group stuff.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of bad at that.
That's fair, honestly.
Neurotypicals want us to do everything in the world, and sometimes we just can't do it, and that's fine.
Even
Well,
though
I
the
mean-
neurotypicals don't do everything in the world.
Yeah, and also like it's basically a similar situation. I go back to this a lot whenever I think about things. I was doing a majority of the stuff. They talked about Good Mythical Morning. They talked about during like one of their specials or whatever, like I don't know, 1,000 or whatever episode. They talked about like, yeah, no, if we were just doing this on our own, we wouldn't have lasted like more than a year for Good Mythical Morning. So like, it's just the fact of the matter is there's a lot of outside stuff that I cannot do everything on my own. The individualistic thing is just not something that really works. It's impressive that I did as much as I did,
Mm-hmm.
to be fair.